Another successful man falls, and we keep acting surprised. But the truth is, this isn't about Klay Thompson. It's about a deficiency most men refuse to confront. Shalom, my brothers. I truly hope all is well with you and your families. A lot of men are looking at this situation with Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson as entertainment. Another breakup, another headline, another moment, just to scroll past. But I'm telling you right now, my brothers, that if you're a man trying to build legacy, this isn't entertainment. This is another warning, because what you're witnessing is not rare, unfortunately, and it's not shocking, and it's definitely not new. It's a detrimental pattern that most men ignore, or most men don't recognize at all, because they're too focused on the pursuit of women. Let me be straight with you, my brothers. A man can have discipline in his craft and still be completely undisciplined in his character. He can wake up early, train hard, build wealth, and still lack the internal governance over his emotions that's required to sustain what he built. It is written, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls, completely exposed, completely vulnerable. See, in ancient times, cities were protected by walls that surrounded the city. And this is the part rarely taught. How many men who lack self-control follow their penis instead of aligning with Yah's purpose? I remember a time in the late 1990s when I was producing music for an all-star NBA player. It was Labor Day weekend, and he was hosting a party at his home in D.C. The guest list would be filled with some of the most attractive women in the D.C. area. As soon as I found out the plan, I didn't hesitate. I booked a flight back to Detroit to be home with my wife and daughter. Not because I believed I wasn't strong enough to endure temptation, but because I had enough spiritual discernment to know a man can't carry fire next to his chest without getting burned. See, most men wait until they're in the environment, and then they try to rationalize with temptation. But discipline doesn't start in the moment, my brothers. It starts in the decision to avoid what could take you down. We live in a culture that glorifies achievement, but ignores the consequences of an undisciplined appetite. See, success doesn't just reveal your strengths, my brothers. It exposes your lack of restraint. The more access you gain, the more options you have. And the more options in the hands of a man without sexual self-control will become more options for his downfall. Now, here's where many of us are misguided. Men look at situations like Meg and Klay and immediately start assigning blame. And typically that blame is pointed towards the woman. She wasn't attractive enough. She could have done more. And the classic, women are the problem. That's deflection, my brothers. And it's easier to critique a woman than it is to confront your own lack of discipline, your own lack of sexual self-control. A man's betrayal is not always a reflection of a woman's worth. It's more often a revelation of his. We have to stop reducing cheating to something casual, my brothers, like it's just about sex, because it's not. It's about deception. It's about entitlement. It's about sin. It's about the willingness to look someone in the eyes and allow them to trust a version of you that does not even exist. And as scripture warns, be sure your sin will find you out. This is a character issue, my brothers. It reveals a man who is emotionally ungoverned, easily moved, ruled by his desires rather than anchored in principle. And when a man is led by his emotions, by his appetite instead of Yah's purpose for his life, he will sacrifice an authentic love for something that's temporary every time. And psychologically, my brothers, this is where the conversation deepens. Some men cheat because they are avoidant. And from a psychological standpoint, that's rooted in what's called an avoidant attachment style. That pattern is often formed early when a boy learns consciously or unconsciously that emotional needs are not safe to express or won't be consistently met. So instead of learning how to depend, he learns how to detach. Instead of developing comfort with closeness, he develops control through distance. But relationship with a mature, emotionally intelligent woman requires transparency, consistency, and emotional presence. So instead of growing into closeness, many men self-sabotage and cheat because they feel inadequate. They have money, but they lack a sense of self-worth. So they use women as proof that they are still desirable, still wanted, and still that guy. And there are some men who cheat because they never properly receive love, nurture, or affirmation from their mothers. So they keep trying to extract from women what they never allow Yah to heal within themselves. But hear me clearly, my brothers. An explanation is not an excuse. The cause does not excuse the effect. Childhood wounds may explain the mentality, but they do not justify the betrayal, and even the betrayal of yourself. And what I mean by that aligns with 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. A man who unites himself sexually with a promiscuous woman, or it is written a prostitute, becomes one with her. Because when a man becomes promiscuous, moving from one woman to another, something begins to shift internally. His mind no longer stays present. Instead, it reaches back to past encounters, thinking about the other woman's body, her behavior, and even her touch. You're in one place with your body, but divided in your mind. That's not connection, that's fragmentation. And this is why 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16 is deeper than most men realize, that when a man joins himself sexually with a promiscuous woman, he becomes one with her, not just physically, but spiritually and psychologically. And when you keep forming those bonds, my brothers, you don't become more fulfilled, you become increasingly divided, because every encounter leaves an imprint. And over time, my brothers, those imprints begin to compete with each other. So now, instead of being fully present with one woman, you're carrying the residue of many. Therefore, before a man ever betrays a woman, he has already betrayed himself. Attachment issues may explain why a man runs from covenant, but they do not absolve him from the responsibility to become a comprehensive man. Because at some point, a man has to stop making women pay interest on wounds they did not create. But unfortunately, a lot of men have been taught how to acquire women, but not how to honor and keep covenant. They've been taught how to increase their value, but not their integrity. No restraint, no self-accountability, no self-control. And when that man is presented with temptation, he doesn't fall because of temptation. He falls because he is spiritually undisciplined. Because as James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15 teaches us, temptation comes from within, my brothers. Desire gives birth to sin, and when left unchecked, it produces death. My brothers, always remember, the cost is always higher than the pleasure. As always, I truly hope this message encouraged you. If you want to be notified when I upload a new video, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And to the men in my Patreon brotherhood, if you're watching this now on Patreon, please do not forget to download the reflection guide to this video and be ready to engage this topic in our next live discussion. Well, until next time, my brothers, keep growing, keep building, and keep striving to be a comprehensive man. Shalom.